Good evening and welcome to the Entrepreneurs Hangout. I'm Sean Duffy and I'm privileged to be part of the great team at EY in Ireland. Tonight on the show, I'm joined by three phenomenal entrepreneurs and current finalists in our EOY 2014 programme. On my left-hand side and in the studio, I have Terry Fox from Cupprint, Gerard Cleary from Glenisk, and joining us across Skype, I have Bill Walsh from Aspire Technology. Gentlemen, you're very welcome. So, to kick off the show, I'm going to ask each of you in turn to say a little bit about who you are and a little bit about your business. Terry.
My name is Terry Fox. I'm the CEO of Cupprint. We are Ireland's only paper cup manufacturer. We manufacture short-run, fast turnaround paper cup for the European and Irish markets.
Fantastic. Gerard.
My name is, as you said, Gerard Cleary from Glenisk. We're a family business located down in County Offaly. We produce a range of organic yogurts and milk.
And Bill.
I'm Bill Walsh and I'm the CEO of Aspire Technology. And Aspire Technology, it optimizes the performance of radio and telecommunication networks in Ireland and all over the world.
Fantastic. So let's start up the questions, and as usual the questions are flooding in, and my first question is a fantastic question from Rona O, and I'm going to read it exactly as it's written because it is right to the core. So your pals are in jobs getting paid, you're broke, working 80 hours, why keep going, Terry?
Sometimes you have to. Sometimes there's so many people who rely on you, like your family obviously rely on you for an income. Your staff obviously rely on you for an income. We were at the very bottom and trying to work our way up, and it's kind of think you wake up in the morning, you're not earning any money, what's the point? But you've no choice. There's so many people relying on you to come up with the goods and save the day that there's no way you can give up. There's too much at stake. And
that passion clearly as well, Terry. I mean, when you strike something and you put all that effort behind it, seeing it through must be a big driver.
It still takes time. I mean, we started from the very start with Cupprint, and for a long time, we were fighting a losing battle. And then there's like a tipping point that comes, and when the tipping point comes, it's not an overnight thing. It's kind of, we got to this level. I mean, things are starting to, you're not over the hill, but you're nearly at the summit.
Yeah. It's really interesting. And in a family context, Gerard, it's possibly slightly different, but the commitment is the same in comparison to what you could have been doing. So how do you direct yourself towards that?
Well, I suppose with the family concept, you have emotions that come involved in play as well. But what you find it is that there's a family of 5 of us involved in the business, and we sort of gel together when times of crisis. Now, we've been there many times over the years, as we got to the growth of where we are today. And at those times, you don't think of not being able to achieve. You just sort of think of how are we going to achieve this and when are we going to achieve this. And your mind goes into sort of a way that we will get to the end of this, we will overcome this crisis and things will be rosier the other side. So that actually works well for us as a family business when we're working in Glenisk.
It's an interesting point because you touch on the point about teaming. And it is something that comes through a lot of the questions, and we'll come back to that. And Bill, in Connecticut, can you talk around your ability to keep going when it looks like it's a bit tough out there?
Yeah, I think I'd be with Terry on this. You've got to keep it going. You've got to think of all of your stakeholders. You've got to think of your business. You've got to think of your customers. You've got to think of your staff, and maybe moving on to Gerard, also family business or not a family business. You get your staff and your customers and your other stakeholders just to rally around you to find a way through whatever disappointment has happened on that particular time. So it's about perseverance, and you keep on going, and you don't have countenance failure as an option.
That's fantastic, and it's a huge consistency amongst yourselves and in the other shows we've had around this point about perseverance and persistence. But there is a number of the questions that have come in tonight talk around what's the biggest thing or aspect that you've given up to follow your dream as an entrepreneur? I mean, Terry, is there anything that you can point to directly?
I suppose like it creates a difficult work-life balance with your family. I mean, you're never switched off from being an entrepreneur and being involved in the business, and especially with modern technology today. I mean, it's there, an email comes in, and you feel like answering it, and you're gonna read it anyway. So there's no switch off for it. So it's just the important part is to get the work-life balance right. There's no point leaving a family behind and saying, I'm a worker now, and tough luck for you guys. I think it's become more of a modern kind of theme that everybody wants to have the work-life balance exactly right, where maybe 20 years ago it might have been 90 hours a week, and sure, the family's a secondary thing to go home to.
Yeah, a passenger almost along your journey.
Yeah.
And I know in previous shows, when we talked to Andrew at Sláinte, he talked about having a very supportive wife and enabling him to start his journey and family. I mean, Gerard, from your perspective, or continuing that theme, I mean, do you feel you've sacrificed something to get into the family business?
Yeah, I suppose 20 years ago when I was finishing my college education, I did business and accountancy, and I saw all my friends going into companies like EY and other companies as well. I could have gone down that, I suppose, maybe that easier route, sort of say, but I decided to go back into the family business. The family business at that time was much smaller than what it is today. It was loss-making. So it was a challenge that I felt that I myself was up to in trying to turn around the business, trying to grow the business. And fortunately, I made that choice of going down that line, and I'm happy to be where I am today.
Well, thank goodness you made that decision. And Bill, turning to you then, the issue of sacrifice, personal sacrifice or family sacrifice to enable you to go on your journey.
Yeah, I mean, I actually consider myself privileged to run my own business. I don't believe that I make sacrifices, but there's always this issue about work life balance, and you couldn't possibly go through the journey without a supportive wife and a supportive family. So as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, there's never downtime. You're always online, you're always working, you're always checking emails, but you try to find a way as you go through the journey to find some downtime, and to find some ways to switch off. But it isn't in a traditional way that I would have seen as an employee when you went off on your 2 weeks holidays. That don't happen no more.
Yeah, so you're always engaged with the business, and maybe just to summarize a number of these questions, I mean, are the highs worth the lows? Do the highs outweigh the lows on the journey, in your experience, Terry?
Well, it depends on the company and depends on what situation you're in. Like, I know I'm pretty privileged to be involved in Cupprint, and it's something that seems like it's working, and it kind of, there's not much lows going on at the moment. I mean, the lows can bring you straight down. I mean, straight down to earth, and you can be depressed when you go home. But I remember being involved in the previous business where there was more lows than highs, and that is just soul-sucking kind of stuff, where you just can't hide the fear of failure, the fear of things going wrong. You just can't hide it when you bring it home. So it's a roller coaster ride, all right, definitely.
It's incredibly honest, which I think is phenomenal for everybody tonight. But Gerard?
Yeah, I don't think the highs are ever as high as they are, or the lows are never as low as they are, because if you do get a piece of good news or great news, well, you say great, and you just move on from it. You never become complacent with that piece of high news. If bad news comes, and by God it does come as well, you just try to face it head on and say, right, how do I overcome this challenge as well? So it's really how you sort of approach these things. It's the best way of dealing with them in my experience.
So having the confidence of experience to put the shoulders back and chin up.
Take it on the chin, chin up, and just move on from there.
And Bill, I'm going to ask you a different question. It comes through from one of our viewers tonight. And the question is, how do you test markets and niches before you get involved in them?
That's a brilliant question, and it's one that I've learned a huge amount about over the last 4 years. We in Aspire are a technology-led company, I would say, and for quite a long time we'd have come up with technology solutions. Our engineers were blessed to have some fantastic staff who want to solve the world's biggest problems, but the world's biggest problems and the world's most interesting technology problems aren't always the business problems to be solved. So how to test the market from actually my point of view, and we've changed the kind of culture and approach within the company to be more business led. So it's all about going out, having a kind of a better front end to the company, stronger sales organization, and constantly and consistently and relentlessly qualify the opportunity by talking to potential clients. So it's just this relentless qualification of the opportunity in the market, more than the ability to execute a project.
It's interesting looking at the questions coming through on the Twitter through our hashtag EOI 2014. One of the questions that's just come through is a really interesting question, because it in itself is a question, and it is, what do you hate being asked as a question as a founder of a business? So what question do you not like to be asked as a founder, or do you find you're most often asked as a founder? Kind
of a hard question to answer, I suppose. For ourselves, being a local company, employing local people, and someone asks you, what's your exit strategy? And you have to put this down in business plans, where they actually ask you, if you even go to Enterprise Ireland, or you actually have the last page exit strategy. Mine is question mark blank. I don't have one. And we're not involved in exit strategies. We're involved in growing a business. And you think, I'm going to grow the business, and I have my little strategy, and we're getting out. I'm going to get out, get a check, and leave everybody behind. See, guys, that's not the kind of business we are. So when I get asked that question, I always kind of, nah, that's not the kind of question I like to answer. It's a really good answer in a lot of ways, because I mean the purpose of the journey is to reach the end of the journey, and what you're saying is that you're still on the journey, right? I'd rather keep on the journey. I'm young enough. I mean, what else am I going to do in Ennis County Clare if the day did come? Yeah. So I'm kind of happy the way leaving that question open, as in not having the answer, as in I don't care what the answer is. And Gerard, from your perspective?
Yeah. In business, there's so many twists and turns, really. Sometimes you are asked, as like what Terry was saying, where are you going to be in 5 years' time? What's your strategic plan in the year 2019? It's very hard sometimes to lose focus of, rather than looking too far down the road, you should really concentrate and make the most of what you're actually doing today and tomorrow, but not maybe 5 years down the road. So I tend, and our company tends to be focused more on the short to medium term. Okay, we do take a longer term view as well, but you wouldn't never be really hung up or stuck up to trying to hold on to that particular view.
Fantastic. And Bill, addressing a question to you around, what do you wish you knew before you started this venture?
I think it's all about the qualification of the opportunity, actually, and it's about understanding the business problem that you're solving. And once again, in the kind of early stages of our business, we were looking at it more from the ability of the organization rather than from looking at it from the outside in, and that's the kind of change that we're making within our company.
Thanks, Bill. Next question then is around cash flow. I mean, the lifeblood of the business. When cash flow is or was a huge challenge, did you think about outside investment or seeking other supports external from the business? So the issue of cash pressure, and how do you deal with it? Terry.
I suppose at the very start of the business in 2009, obviously we faced that problem big time, and there were so many negatives against what we could pull off, as in cash-wise. We were starting off a business. We'd no premises, we'd no equipment, we'd no bank, we'd no anything, and we had a product that we knew would work. And we presented it in front of a couple of investors, and I had a business plan to match it that would say, look, this business plan means we're going to make a living. An investor's not going to look at a risky thing and say, well, they're going to make a living. Where's my money in 10 years or 5 years? He's not even interested. So at the very start, we couldn't get an investor. It was just too much risk. Now, we knew it would work, but trying to convince somebody else it would work, impossible. So we begged, stealed, borrowed, did every kind, not trick in the book, but we did a very good job of funding ourselves. With great help from Enterprise Ireland, I must say, and the local enterprise boards are fantastic. They're fantastic enterprises. There's nothing like it anywhere else in the world. They're the best in the world. And with these guys' help, we managed to grow the business organically and keep it ourselves. And that's why I don't have an exit strategy. We don't have an investor breathing down my neck telling me what to do. And it's such a relief from talking to other entrepreneurs.
So that micro focus on cash, has kept you more than alive. It's actually prepared you now for your own destiny. And Gerard, as a guy with a financial backing, when cash pressures become evident, do you feel under a bit more pressure as the finance guy to react to it or deal with it amongst the family?
I think so, yes, because it's your bread and butter. You're on a day-to-day basis looking at the cash position to make sure that you have enough cash to pay for the next round of checks, etc. It can be a thing that can bring down many good companies. There are many companies out there that are profitable that just hemorrhaged cash and had to be wound up. So we took great care in focusing on how to maximise our cash position, keeping our stock to minimum, make sure our debtors paid in time, try to extend our creditors as much as possible, working within those confines to make the cash there, because any company, when they're starting out or if they're growing, they need cash, and cash in abundance, because it tends to be always eaten up before it generates as well. So you want to make the most of the resource that you have by keeping those current assets in order, that your cash is always maximised to its full potential.
That's a fantastic answer. And Bill, turning to you then, as you've expanded your business, have you ever considered external investment?
Yeah, just to follow up maybe on the initial question, what I would say is the relentless kind of planning of a cash flow is crucial for any startup. We got through the first 12-18 months of our business because we had really detailed planning in the management of a cash. We managed to come through the initial 12 or 18 months without any significant external investment. We have Enterprise Ireland on board, and they're magnificent. Looking forward, my plan had always been to grow the business organically, and I'm not actively seeking any investors at the minute. However, if an opportunity did come up that we needed to make significant investment in the business, I might change.
Thanks, Bill. I think that's a really interesting point about the just balancing the needs as they arise at the time, and I think it's a wonderful endorsement of Enterprise Ireland. I mean, it's been a consistent comment from all our entrepreneurs about the importance of that entity to entrepreneurship in Ireland. So, I mean, it's fantastic to hear that echoed again. An interesting question is around the use of your hunch or your gut instinct, you know, versus the sort of a strategic or a market analysis. How important, Terry, from the word go on a continuing basis, is your hunch or your instinct in business?
I think when we started, we came from a different business in commercial print, which was a 24-hour turnaround, kind of high pressure, top customer service business, and we kind of had a look at this and we said, you know something, these guys are going away. This is the customer service. They could, some big corporations, you ask them for a quote for example, paper cups. They could be 3 weeks before they deliver the quote. We have the job delivered before that. We knew that at the start. We saw this industry wide open for customer service problems and everything else. And we jumped in there with a lot of risk on our side. Not as much market research as we should have done, maybe, because sometimes it's very difficult to do market research on a new product. You just got to turn up and sell the thing. And on the hunch, it paid off, and you know, the company has grown at an astonishing rate because of it.
Yeah, I mean, and to me, that is exactly the hunch, the instinct. I mean, Gerard, from a looking into the market and thinking about product development and where you push your products, I mean, again, that point, I mean, is there a healthy balance between research and hunch?
Yeah, I don't think you could take either of them in isolation. You can't believe all on your hunch and ignore your market research, or likewise, you can't just look at the market research and forget about your hunch as well. So you have to get that balance right of what you believe in and what the market is telling you as well to optimize your solution of what you're going to do. So if to put a figure, you'd nearly say 50-50. We would look at sort of what we think works best and what the market is looking for as well. And with that, we try to develop products to capitalize on that. Now, sometimes you are wrong, and we've got, I suppose, evidence at home to show it, but you try to maximize your successes and bring those products out to the marketplace as well.
And Bill, turning to you, I mean, how much have you relied upon your own instinct and gut in terms of determining where you should be going and when?
I'd say possibly too much. I don't think you can do in enough market research, but of course you've got to have the hunches. You've got to have the ability to see around corners. Joe Hogan in OpenNet, I heard him talking about 2 years ago, and he always talked about the ability to see two horizons away. So I think you must always be looking. You must always have the antennae up, but you can do enough market research and business analysis. That's a hunch isn't a substitute.
And I think that's really interesting, Bill. And I think it's the combination. It's the magic comes from the combination, right? And again, you know, I see that from the time we spent away in Seattle and Vancouver, talking around the need for both. You know, and it comes across a lot. The next major theme of questions that's coming through Twitter, and to use an example, is from Jen McKeever, is around mentorship. And Terry, did you have a mentor during the entrepreneurial journey?
Oh yeah, look, it's a family business really. I mean, it's myself and my dad are the two guys who. He's been my mentor, if you know what I mean, from when I was a kid. Like, he's been an entrepreneur all his life, running printing companies. I've kind of been under his wing, learning the trade. I never went to college, so I learned how to be a CEO and an MD the old-fashioned way. So he's been the guy. We're like a sounding board. So I throw an idea at him. He'll either shoot it down, agree with it, I'd argue back, and he'd throw an idea at me. So I don't know how people do it by themselves. I mean, without him, we wouldn't be where we are. And without me, he wouldn't be, you know, the company wouldn't exist. It's just great to have a sounding board there and a good friend to be able to chuck ideas off, and that's how you can get somewhere.
And Gerard, in your own business?
Yeah, I'd always look at mentoring in both an official capacity and an unofficial capacity. Official capacity is where we actually take someone into the business to show us various tools and trades and learn from what they've done and what not to do from them as well. Unofficially, I suppose, in every walk of life, once you're speaking to people in the business world and out of the business world as well, you're learning from them as well. You're learning from their experience as well. So you learn to know what to bring back into the business and what works well for yourself as well. So a combination of both, I think, is good mentoring, and it works well for us at Glenisk.
Fantastic. And that same question to you, Bill, around mentors, board, external influence. How important is that to you?
It's fiercely important. When I set up the business, I sought out a mentor. It's been brilliant to have the external sounding. I will say there's a fantastic spirit of entrepreneurs in Ireland. There's loads of people reaching out to help. So for any kind of young budding entrepreneur, there are people out there who will help you with your business. Since then, we've put in a fantastic board of industry expertise, and that forms an invaluable perspective to me on how I make my plans for international growth. So mentorship and external advice through boards of directors and non-execs is absolutely crucial.
Thank you, Bill. I mean, I think you've really highlighted the point around the loneliness potentially of being an entrepreneur, and it's interesting talking to you tonight. You know, people misunderstand that you can put people around you, that it's important to have a robust challenge and interaction with family or friends or other colleagues, you know. So it's really, really nice to actually hear you being so honest for us about that you need that interaction. So, you know, I thank you all for that wonderful insight. Coming close to the end of our conversation, but one question I think which is a really nice question is around describe the emotion you felt when you were nominated for EOI 2014. Terry.
I was away at the time. I was in Korea in a hotel when I got the phone call, and it's absolute. I mean, it's an honor, an absolute honor, and shock, horror. I have to do some TV stuff and some stuff on radio and this, that, and the other. And look, public speaking isn't my strongest suit, but I've learned to adapt, and it's been an amazing journey, and I'd wish it on anyone. You know, it's been fantastic.
Well, Gerard, we're absolutely delighted to have you in the program. How is it? What was the emotion like when you got the call?
As well, it was an honour to be nominated, because I've been following the program for the last 10 or 12 years, and look at the calibre of the different businesses and different entrepreneurs that have been out there. You sort of said to yourself, God, I'd love to be up on that same platform as them. But you'd never think you do be. But we are there now, and we're thrilled to be here. It's thrilled to meet the other finalists as well, because we're learning off each other with every conversation that we have. So it's something that we'll remember for the rest of our lives.
Oh, fantastic. And Bill, over to you. What did it feel like when you got the call?
Yeah, it was like Gerard. I've been following the Entrepreneur of the Year for many years, and so much so that when I set up the business in 2009, it was really hard to get a bank to actually back me. And I often tell the story that I was in Last Chance saloon into my last and final bank, and the other two had rejected me. So I decided that I better make an impression. So I donned my suit and I introduced myself to the bank manager as Bill Walsh, Entrepreneur of the Year 2013. So that was that was back back in 09. The feeling when I came into these guys' company was probably one of fraud. Like, I didn't feel worthy of being part of the company of these fantastic people. But it's been a fantastic journey, and we've met and we've talked and we've learned from each other. And I think all of the finalists and all of our businesses will certainly benefit from being part of the program.
That's a lovely answer, Bill, and thank you very much. We were delighted to help you on your journey in 2009. Unfortunately, it's time's up, and I wish we had more time. I'd love to spend more time talking to you all around the insights you've given. And I have to say, I've been really impressed by the humbleness and the honesty from each of you tonight. And you're a great encouragement, not only to budding entrepreneurs out there who are sending their questions in by the second, but also to us in EY. As I said before, we treasure our involvement in the Entrepreneur of the Year program, and it's a great pleasure having you here tonight. So that's the end, everybody. Thank you very much. I look forward to next week, and good night.